Hello, students. Today I am going to discuss a new topic that is poetic device. And in this lecture, I will cover three figures of speech: simile, metaphor, and personification. So let us first discuss what simile means. Well, simile is a figure of speech or a rhetorical device. And the origin of the word simile is the Latin word similus, which means like or likeness. Now, in simile, what do? In simile, we compare two unlike objects, that is, two objects which are different in nature. And then we try to find out a point of similarity between these two unlike objects. Let us understand it with the help of an example. For example, the burglar moves like a cat. Here, I have underlined these two words, burglar and cat, because I want to draw a comparison between these two words. Now, you see, burglar and cat are quite unlike. Burglar is a human being, and cat is an animal. Yet, I have compared the burglar to a cat. Why so? Uh, what I want to emphasize is the burglar is moving as quietly, as noiselessly, as cautiously as a cat. So I'm comparing the burglar's movement to that of a cat. Right? So the burglar, since he enters the house in order to steal, therefore he enters the house very cautiously, very carefully, otherwise, he might be caught. So the quietness of his movement is like the movement of the cat. So this is how two unlike objects are compared, are placed side by side, and a point of similarity is identified between them. Again, her locks were yellow as gold. Here, the underlined words locks and gold have been compared. Locks means hair. So, in this case, what we want to emphasize is the color of the hair. The hair is golden in color, the hair is yellow in color. Okay, so to create that idea, locks and gold have been compared, and the point of similarity between them is that both are yellow in color, both are golden in color. Metaphor. Metaphor is an implied simile. Here too, you bring two objects together. These two objects are quite different from each other. You want to detect a point of similarity between them, but the point of similarity is not directly stated. It is for the reader to find out why these two objects are similar. So the point of similarity is not on the surface. The point of similarity is hidden. So it is up to the reader to find out or to dig deep into the point of similarity. What is similar between these two objects? Therefore, it is said that simile is a direct comparison, while metaphor is an indirect comparison. For example, the camel is the ship of the desert. Here, the camel has been compared to a ship. Now, if we think deeper, we understand why. Because the ship is a means of transportation on the rivers or on the ocean. And in the desert, it is the camel which is the means of transportation. So, in that sense, the camel is the ship of the desert. But if you look at the sentence carefully, you observe that the words like, as, these words are not used. These words are dropped. So it requires a little bit of thinking why camel has been compared to a ship. That is why metaphor is called an indirect comparison. Next, we move to variety is the spice of life. Now, here in this particular sentence, variety has been compared to spice. Just as spices and condiments are required to increase the flavor and taste of a particular dish, similarly, variety is also required to spice up your life, to make your life more interesting, to break the monotony, to break the dullness of your life. So that is why variety is the spice of life. Interestingly, here too, the word like or as is not used. It could have been used, but it has not been used because it is a metaphor. Variety is the spice of life. Okay, now let us move to the third example, that is, he is the pillar of the state. In this particular sentence, he has been compared to a pillar. Just as a building stands on the pillar, if the pillar breaks down, the building will collapse. Similarly, he is also the main strength of the state. If something wrong happens to him, if he collapses, the entire state machinery will also collapse. So it is on his shoulders that the state is resting. He is like the pillar or the backbone of the state. Next example is the world is a stage. Here, the world has been compared to a stage. What happens on a stage? On a stage, a play is performed. There are different actors and actresses who play out different roles. They display different kinds of emotions like sorrow, joy, happiness. They go through hardships, pain, right? So, similarly, in real life, in the world too, people go through different kinds of experiences. So, in that sense, the world is a stage, and we all are playing different roles. So, therefore, the essential features of a metaphor are, like in simile, number one, there's a comparison which is made. Number two, this comparison is made between two different objects. And number three, the point of comparison is not direct, it's not obvious, it is indirect, it is implied. It requires a little bit of thinking on the part of the reader to understand the point of comparison. So, the point of comparison is actually embedded to the next poetic device, which is personification. Now, if you look at this word, personification, it is an extension of the word person. So in this figure of speech, what happens is, uh, okay, so personification is literally treating non-living things as living things, or non-living objects as human beings, humanizing non-human entities. Now, what are these non human entities? Say, for instance, the natural elements like the air, earth, water, river, mountains, etc. Inanimate objects like the curtains, the car, the book. It can be anything which doesn't have life, or even abstract ideas like honesty, truthfulness, bravery, valor, ambition, etc. So, what we do in personification, we invest these natural objects or inanimate objects or abstract ideas with human qualities. We personify them, we treat them as persons, we see them as behaving or acting like living beings. For example, the flowers are dancing in the wind. Now, this act of dancing we associate with human beings. But here, this act of dancing has been, uh, you know, um, associated with the flowers. We see that the flowers are moving from side to side. And this act of the flowers, this movement of the flowers, is seen as an act of dancing. So, dancing is something we associate with human beings. But we have treated the flowers as persons by giving this human attribute of dancing to the flowers. We are, so, this is known as personification. Similarly, the plants are screaming for water. Now, see, the act of screaming means shouting or yelling or crying for help. So, this is something which we associate with human beings. Uh, can the plants scream? No, the plants cannot scream. The plants are silent. They do not have this ability of screaming or shouting or talking. This is something we associate with human beings. But this human attribute has been given to the plants. And by doing so, we have treated the plants as persons. So that is why it is an example of personification. Let us move to the next example. The thirsty earth soaks up the rain. Here, the word that has been personified is the earth because we visualize the earth as being thirsty. So, this is one example of personification. Death lays its icy hand on kings. In this example, death has been personified because we imagine death as having hand, icy hands, cold. Thank you for watching. We'll meet again with a new set of topics.